I wanted to start off by, asking about tech partnerships and optimizing that and having the best relationship. And there's many to choose from, albeit some consolidation. But tell me a little bit about how you optimize your relationship with your tech partners.
When it comes to our partnerships, I like to, I always start with data. I like to see what's our current level of involvement, what is, going from there, what's the feeling throughout the marketplace and the industry about that particular partner. Are they new? Are they existing? What kind of reputation do they have? And also, I try to, once we actually have a conversation, I try to find out how open and honest they are. A lot of what happens within programmatic, especially from the beginning, things were a bit black box, and we've obviously have moved on to a much more transparent world. Some partners I've found have been a little bit slower than others, whether that just be honesty in terms of the supply that they actually have exclusivity with, or the rates that they make available, whether it's their take rates or what have you. So it's a full interrogation of how strong they are and how transparent they are.
So you've seen consolidation. Has that been good or not good in terms of the opportunities and sort of the growth of different tech stacks? And
I think it's always a challenge, right? The consolidation helps us from the buy side because there are lots of players in this space, and it can be very complex to wrap one's head around. So consolidation helps with that. The downside is obviously that takes away some of the buying power we have, right? So it makes things a bit harder from a negotiation standpoint if there's only one or two sources for a particular piece of supply. There are the walled gardens that we also have to contend with, where that there's there are inherent difficulties there as well. But I'd say that the consolidation has pluses and minuses.
so tell us about how you activate and how that has changed through private marketplaces, through open bidding. I mean, tell us sort of, and I'm sure it's not one flavor for every client, but tell us a little bit about how the marketplace looks to you and how you're activating.
The marketplace is constantly changing. Essentially, when I first started out, PMPs were new, and depending on the organization that you were with, it might have been something that was a bit more taboo because it was too much like the old way of direct buying. Now that we're in a world where most of the supply has been cleansed a bit, and from a standpoint of bot fraud or just bad actors, it's become more competitive. And so if you have a top tier client or you're a top tier advertiser, then the need to secure inventory, whether it be for exclusivity's sake or just because you're entering Q4 and the open marketplace is going to become quite rough to get those dollars spent. PMPs have become definitely a go-to for, I would say, all programmatic buyers, and Programmatic-Guaranteed is becoming something that is talked about more and more with myself and my colleagues. There are challenges with that, obviously, because from a supply standpoint, there aren't that many SSPs who are making that capability available yet, and honestly, not all of the DSPs have that capability as well, which is a challenge. But that's something that we're pushing for as we go towards the future.
Great. And how has sort of the expectations of clients changed? And of course, that's a very broad question. Clients have different interests, but
Yeah.
you know, the clients that are advertisers that are going through the system, what are some of their expectations, and how are you meeting those expectations?
So their expectations from a supply standpoint, they honestly haven't changed. They're the same ones. their level of importance ebbs and flows at times, depending on the advertiser. But at the heart of it, it comes down to transparency and quality. They want to know where their media is being spent. Now, how prescriptive they are depends on the advertiser. Some just want to know that if they ask for a list of 10,000 or 20,000 or however many thousand sites that they may appear on can be made available to them, then they're happy. Some want to actually see and interrogate that list. That can be a challenge just from a time perspective. But that's where we also tend to bring in and rely on third-party vendors like Double Verify's, the IASs of the world to help explain and ensure that they understand that even with a list of 100,000 sites, with the right pre-built filters in place, that inventory can be scrubbed. And on top of that, it really comes down to kind of going back to your question about partnerships. What we like to do is or at least me personally, I like to maintain a strong relationship with our SSPs to see what we can do to filter out sites before they even get over to us in an auction perspective. DSPs aren't infallible. We like to think they are, but they're not. They're our level of control, but there can be many stop gaps. And in my opinion, we should use all of them.